As the weather gets cooler, I always go to braising. It's one of my very favorite techniques, and it's foolproof. You always wind up with something delicious. So today I'm going to show you how to make a braised chicken dish, and it's called coq au vin, okay, or chicken with wine. So I have a little salt pork here that I was browning in some pure olive oil, and I'm just going to remove that. All right, and this is basically how you're going to start every braise. You're going to have a pan, you're going to have some oil, it's going to get preheated on medium until it starts to smoke just faintly. I have my chicken here that I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to season this up with a little bit of pan searing flour. Now this chicken sat in a marinade overnight, but if it were a pot roast or anything else, you would just simply take your protein and season it up and brown it in a hot pan. Always the first step to braising, brown your protein in a hot pan. So I've got this chicken, and I'm just going to go ahead and pop it right in here. And the idea here is we're building the foundation of the dish. So what we want to do is brown this up, get it nice and paper bag brown on the outside, and that'll be our first line of flavor. And that's true with any braise. You're going to start by browning your protein and sort of set the foundation. All right, so I think this is ready to flip. Let's just take a look. Yeah, perfect. And I've got that nice browning on there. Great, so we're just going to flip this all over and do that exact same thing on the other side till it gets nice and brown as well. So the chicken's nicely browned on both sides. So at this point in the braise, right, you brown your protein, whatever it is, and you remove it from the pan. And then to further flavor the dish, you're going to use some mirepoix, some form of vegetable. So, you know, what you do, you look at your pan, you decide if you've got the right amount of fat in the pan. I feel really comfortable with this. You could certainly take some out if you wanted. You just need enough fat in your pan when you braise to go ahead and cook your next set of vegetables in. So I'm going to add some mirepoix. I'm going to add some garlic. I'm going to add some mushrooms. And then I'm also going to add some pearl onions. But again, this could be anything you like. It could be carrot, celery, and onions is just fine. Whatever flavors you like as far as vegetables, that's what you're going to add to your braise. I'm just going to give this a quick stir, and I want these to cook for, 10 or 12 minutes so they release a lot of their moisture. And again, we're taking up any of that fond, those little brown bits on the bottom of the pan from when you sear your protein. The moisture in the vegetables is going to release that. Again, we're building this sauce. We're building this liquid. When you braise something, you're cooking it in a flavorful liquid. So this is all part of building that flavorful liquid. All right, so it's been about 10 minutes. You can see that the vegetables have softened nicely. They're starting to take on a little bit of color. They've released a lot of their moisture. So the next step in building the sauce for our braise is I always like to use a little tomato paste. That really concentrated tomato flavor is going to add a lot of zing to the sauce. And also, I want the sauce to be a little bit thicker when it comes out of the oven. So I'm just going to add a little bit more flour, right? And with the fat that's left in the pan and the tomato paste, that's essentially creating a roux in our pan. So I just want to cook that tomato paste just for a couple of minutes. You'll see it'll darken up the color a little bit. And then we're going to hit it with some wine, put our chicken back in, and then we'll throw it in the oven and let that go the rest of the way. All right, so the tomato paste is cooked out for a couple of minutes. At this point, I'm going to use wine. I marinated the chicken in some wine, but a combination of wine and stock is always great, but some sort of liquid at this point in a braise, and that's what you're going to use. That's going to be the vehicle to carry all these beautiful flavors that we've been building in this pan so much. All right, so I'm using wine. There's a little thyme and bay leaf in there. I'm just going to give that a stir because that tomato paste also is going to stick a little bit to the bottom of the pot as it cooks and caramelizes. So you want to release all that flavor off the bottom. You can see that beautiful color from the tomato paste is great. And then just for a little extra body, I'm going to use this home-style gravy, which is essentially just a flavorful, thickened version of a stock, just to give us that consistency that we want. Because the whole idea behind a braise is to wind up with a finished sauce as well. So you want that consistency. I'm just going to take my spoon and get into all the corners there and make sure I've got all that delicious flavor off the bottom of the pan. And as this continues to come up to a simmer, I've got an oven on 350 degrees. So I'm going to add my browned protein right back to the pan. And again, if this were a pot roast, then we would be adding, our brown chuck roast back to the pan. So real simple behind braising. Brown your protein, sweat some vegetables, add some liquid, build your flavorful sauce. Protein goes back in the flavorful sauce. Okay? Any drippings that you have from whatever you browned could always go back in. This is all about building flavors. Okay, I'm just going to pop a lid on this. As soon as it comes up to a simmer, I'm going to go right into a 350-degree oven. For about an hour and 20 minutes, the first hour, we'll keep the cover on, go back, take the cover off, and let it cook for the last 20 minutes or so with no cover on it. And that looks absolutely perfect. Again, took the top off. After it had been in for about an hour, I took the lid off and let it cook for about the last 20 minutes just so we could concentrate and reduce that sauce a little bit. And what we wind up with is just beautiful, delicious braised chicken. This is great. This is something that's going to reheat really well. It smells fantastic. Okay, look at that. You can see it's got that nice sheen to it. A few pieces of chicken. Look at this as a perfect example. Look how much that is just getting ready to fall right off the bone there. There you have it. A perfectly braised dish. Braising is simple. It's easy. It's delicious. You got to try it this winter.